Hello, all, and welcome to week 4. This week, we're going to be talking about learning by design and pedagogy versus instruction. Before we get into the topic of this week, I wanted to show you a little bit of where we are right now. We have passed that first part of the course that I call the literacies part. And we are now in the second part that is designing for inclusion. So the way I laid out this roadmap, I did it on purpose this way because it kind of resembles a pyramid. And this is what we're going to build. We just finished the foundations of this pyramid that contained all the theoretical aspects and the broad aspects of the approach that we are going to try to apply now. So here we saw everything about what is it that we refer to when we talk about a pedagogy of multiliteracies, what is a critical literacy approach and a digital literacy approach as well. And these three concepts are going to be those building blocks for the rest of our pyramid. So the next step for that is planning, is designing the learning experiences that we're going to provide to our students. So we are going to be doing that for the next couple of weeks. And we saw a lot in the reading for this week. Is a very beautiful reading about learning by design and how us teachers are better viewed as designers of learning experience. But there was another interesting reading in your syllabus, which is optional for this week. But I want to emphasize in this voice thread. And that reading is by Hyun, and it's about transforming instruction into pedagogy through curriculum negotiation. And I want to give you this distinction between instruction and pedagogy. Instruction refers to passing pre-existing contents to learners, and learning is viewed just like receiving, where the student is just a blank slate and you are writing on them all this knowledge, all these objective facts. And there is a truth to this fact, and it's the instructor's truth, and I'm going to pass it on to you. That is the concept of instruction. And now pedagogy goes beyond that because it is about teaching with ethical and moral awareness to facilitate learning. So it's about questioning and constructing meaningful facts and meaningful truths by individually and collectively. So this connects to a lot of things that have to do with negotiating the curriculum. Um, because it's not based on a hard enough objective truth. It is adapted to the student's context, and it's built through that act of teaching, through that act of pedagogy. So this is why curriculum negotiation is important. And negotiation just means adapting everything that we are supposed to be teaching through the curriculum, adapting it to our students. And how we do that? Well, Hyun suggested some important things in that reading. So the first step to achieve this curriculum negotiation is to have outer dialogues. And these outer dialogues are the ones that we have with students or maybe with other interested parties in the process of curriculum negotiation, about what is worth including in the curriculum or what is worth modifying from your plans. And one way to do that is asking students what other ways can you use and or interpret the content that we have not discussed or explored yet, and what other kinds of knowledge or ideas do you have that you think are related to the content we should also explore. But of course, we cannot ask these questions directly to students and expect to get very articulated and useful answers um, on how to create a more contextualized curriculum. So at this point of the voice thread, I want to hear from you, and I want you to add a comment talking about what strategies or what questions can we ask our students that are more specific that will get us that information that we need to contextualize the curriculum. In further weeks, we're going to talk about the fonts of knowledge and using students' fonts of knowledge, and we will delve a little deeper into that. But for now, I want to hear your ideas about this and about really how can we implement this. What are the practical ways or the strategies that we can use to get this feedback from our students? And then Hume talks about inner dialogues, about asking yourself, what is the knowledge the learner knows that I do not know? And invites you to explore that. The different kinds of connection that the learners make that is meaningful to them in line with the current content that I may not know about it. How should I adapt my thoughts and teaching at this moment to be meaningfully responsive to the learners' counter-normative knowledge? Sometimes learners will come with counter-normative knowledge, and the reading has an example about including indigenous knowledge in the classroom. So, how should you adapt your thoughts to this counter-normative knowledge and understanding there are other ways of knowledge out there? Maybe trying to understand that the knowledge that you are trying to bring into the classroom is not a hard truth. Other questions include how can I renegotiate with the learners to equally cover the basic content that I prepared and the learner's new emerging set of counter-normative knowledge? That is another question that it's very important because that is the key. Not just considering the student ideas or maybe accepting that they may be alternative truths, but including it in your instruction in a way that is respectful to everyone in your classroom. And finally, how should I share the power with the learners so that equal levels of knowledge sharing and co-construction of new adapted knowledge can occur? Yeah, that relates to the point before. How do I include this knowledge into my classroom in a way that is respectful to all students' beliefs, to all students' interests, and of course, their the ways that they know. So the other important aspect for this week is this concept or this framework of understanding the teacher as a designer of learning experiences. Is this approach of learning by design proposed by Calancis and Cope and the people that created the approach of multiliteracies. So understanding the teacher as a designer, and you would have seen in the reading that I highlighted a sentence and that I told you that that was the most important thing. And if you could take away only one thing for from this course, let it be that sentence and that idea that you will be designers of learning experiences and not just an instrument or not just a vehicle to convey the already reading curriculum into your students. You are an active agent that you are constantly designing and creating learning experiences for your students. And to be that professional designer, you need to engage in documentation so you can explain your choices of pedagogy, your choices of activities, and why did you make those choices and share it with other teachers. And part of that is having the vocabulary to do it. What Calancis and Cope um, explain about this learning by design approach is that teaching and learning choices, which is the pedagogy, need to be made explicit, pathways planned, and performance clearly tracked. And this is what's behind of the idea of documenting. But for this week, we are going to be starting with mapping existing lesson plans. So as I said, the first step will be mapping existing lesson plans. This is where you are starting. In order to be able to design new learning experiences, the first thing we're going to do is to analyze an existing lesson plan. So for this activity in the previous year, what we did, this is a picture of an actual of one of my groups from last year that created this placemat. So we created them physically in the classroom, and students were able to place the activities from an existing lesson plan into each of the knowledge processes. So we did that physically. They cut it and put together that placemat, and of course use post-its to place the activities. But we're going to attempt to do that online this year. And I'm going to explain everything about this activity in the OWL course, and it's going to be the group activity for this week. So the purpose of this is that you start by seeing the balance of your existing lesson into the into this placemat, and see if what number of activities you have for each knowledge process, and maybe you are relying too heavily in one knowledge process and you need to kind of cover all of them. But mainly realize that different activities cover different knowledge processes, and start talking about them and having that shared vocabulary about learning activities, so you can start designing your own. And with that is everything for this week. I hope to see you around for your group activity. And of course, I welcome all your questions and comments to this voice thread. Thank you. Bye bye.